Unfortunately, the Eagles didn't have a guy yesterday as they got stunned 20-17. And we talked about it a little bit earlier that in a lot of ways it felt more like the Eagles gave away this win than perhaps Seattle won it. But credit Drew Lock in a tough situation, didn't even know he was going to be starting until essentially right before things got underway. And he delivered a 92-yard game-winning drive for Seattle to close this thing out.
Look, credits Drew Lock, and I'm happy. I love this post-game press conference, what he said, the way he congratulated his team. What a great teammate.
Yeah.
But for me, this game was Philadelphia had ample opportunity to take over the game, right? They were in control of the game. They're up 10-3 at halftime. Okay, so they give up a second-half touchdown to start, but they answer right back like good teams typically do and get the 17-10 lead. And when they scored, the clock read 4:43 to go in the game. In the third quarter. And how often have I said this? If you don't score in the fourth quarter, no matter how good of a team you are, just ask the Kansas City Chiefs. If you can't do that in the fourth, you can't get control of the game. You can't win these close games all the time. And the Eagles can't score in the fourth quarter. They turn the ball over. They're not able to they got 5 first downs in the fourth quarter and no points. They went interception, punt, interception. That is really a recipe for losing. And look, let's face it. They haven't been able to throw the ball. Jalen Hurts threw for 143 yards in 31 attempts. Kept trying to throw the ball down the field. Why? I don't know. Longest pass play of the day was an 18-yarder to Dallas Goedert. There's no explosive plays in their offense. And so and this is against a Seattle team that, we watched Dallas make continual explosive plays. The Rams, struggled to make them in the second game, winning 17-16. But still, this is not a great defensive team, missing rookie Weatherspoon, the starting corner, and Jamal Adams, one of their linebackers, who's called a safety.
Yeah, and I think that's an important conversation topic because we do talk so much throughout the course of this year about the Eagles' struggles on defense specifically, but their offense has not been what we've expected it to be either, especially over this now 3-game losing streak where they have not exceeded 19 points in any of those losses. And so it's different. Jalen Hurts hasn't looked like himself, and I know yesterday he was obviously dealing with some bad flu-like symptoms that started on Thursday. He had to travel away from the team in order to get there because they weren't really sure what his status was ultimately going to be. He plays, credit him for gutting it out, but we even saw in the post-game press conference the way he was speaking, he didn't look good. He was struggling yesterday. So there are a few things here where it's I wonder how much stock we can put in this game specifically, but then you have the 4-game sample size, 3-game sample size. We're no, these are issues that they have had, and I worry for them down the stretch here, Michael, even though they've got 2 games against the Giants and 1 against the Cardinals. Could they get tripped up again potentially, which is mind-boggling, I know, to think about given who this team is, but anything is possible. Now we can't pencil anything in the NFL.
Yeah, well, let's just look at it this way. Okay, last year, in when they had Shane Steichen, and Hurts was really not one of the highest paid players in the league. He was working on his career. They had 6 games of over 300 yards passing. 6. They haven't had that. They've had 2 games all year. They've had 2 games all year in that category. Their passing game has become a problem. And here's what happens. Is because he is a play-action pass quarterback, when it becomes a drop-back game, he feels the pressure, and he looks to run. His eye level is always on the rush. That's what play-action pass passers do. Fake the handoff, okay, I'm throwing it out here. But when there's no play-action, all of a sudden, what am I doing? Think of the last play on 3rd and 10. He's got a clean pocket. Vertically work the pocket up the field, what we call climb the ladder. And then look down the field for guys open. They'll be open. Mahomes does it all the time. Work that pocket. He takes it and he runs outside to the right immediately, which now you have no offense. Now it's all loose plays. And if you do that, now it's hard to complete passes. And he scrambles all the way back to the right and he throws it away to Goddard. That's why your offense isn't working, because he refuses to stay in the pocket. And I think what we've seen with Philadelphia, they have not played a dominating game. As I wrote about today in my column, they have not had a dominating win since they beat Tampa in Week 3. They've had a lot of what I would call games where they are, where they are basically not quite in control of the game. They kind of have a little bit of control, but then they lose it at the end. and they've been where they can dictate how things are going to go in the game, but then and then at the end of the game they win it. But they've had a lot of these dangerous wins too, which is where they're playing poorly and they find a way to win the games at the end. And they've had more dictating wins and dangerous wins than they've had dominating wins.
Yeah, the way that they have played to get to 10-4 at this point was not sustainable when they were on that run of being a 10-1 team. And can you elaborate a little bit more for our new audience why, from a handicapping perspective, the reasons why NFL teams win and how they win, why that's important for us as bettors?
Well, I think you have to be able to win games, to be a dominating team. You have to run the ball, throw the ball, stop the run, stop the pass when the other team knows you have to do it. That means you have the will you can exert your will over a team. Having a great drive in the first quarter is great. It's wonderful. But when the game is on the line, can you make plays? Can you win the game? Dominating teams can do that. Now, I throw the word dominating around as if there's a bunch of them. There's not a lot of dominating teams in the league. We know this. Right? The 49ers have 11 wins. Of their 11 wins, 10 of them have been dominated because they're in control of the game all the time. They're in control of the game all the time. And if they have to run the ball, they can. If they have to throw it, they can. And same thing with Baltimore. And some of these teams like the Chicago Bears, go back and look at the Bears. Watch the Bears play against the Cleveland Browns. And if you start to make the case, well, we should sign Justin Fields for next year. Watch the second half of the game. Watch the whole game because Schwartz blitzes him inside, doesn't let him run around. And then in the second half, when the Bears have declared what their game plan is, Schwartz adjusts out and they can't move the ball at all. The second half for Fields was a disaster. And so that's when you were in control of the game. Like that Cleveland Brown game, and I didn't write about this, I should have. The Cleveland Brown-Chicago game was the perfect example of a team that what I call a dictating win, and it was by Cleveland. Cleveland gave Chicago the 14 points. So they were making mistakes what let Chicago play in the game. The fans think Chicago should have won the game. No, if Chicago would have won the game, it was a dangerous win. They were going to give it away. They were going to give it away. They were never going to win that game if Flacco didn't give it away, and that proved out to be the case in the fourth quarter when they couldn't get a stop, nor could they get first downs when they needed it. I mean, think about this. Their first down, they had 3 first downs in the fourth quarter. Here's their fourth quarter. Punt, downs, punt, punt, punt. Their second half went punt, field goal, downs, punt, interception. And in the second half, they ended up with 6 first downs.
The Bears becoming known for something you don't want to become known for, giving up those fourth quarter leads. Third time this season, they've had double digits in the fourth quarter, and they go on to lose the game straight up. Real quickly, last minute and a half, to go back to Seattle, their playoff chances have gone from 33%, according to ESPN Analytics, up to 56% after the win yesterday, so essentially saving their opportunity. But in a logjam with 4 other teams at 7-7, sitting 500, trying to get a playoff spot, they're a minus 170 favorite to make the playoffs, plus 140 to miss. Which way do you lean?
Well, they always play Arizona well. They know how to play Kyler Murray well defensively. They got a Pittsburgh at home, which they should be able to win that, but it's always going to be tough for them. And then this week in Tennessee, they can get this 10 wins. Their problem is they lost twice to the Rams, so they lose that tiebreaker. And you've got to, to me, if you're betting Seattle, you got to think about the Rams schedule. Because for Seattle to get in, the Rams have to be 9-8. Right, they got to be 9-8. If they're both 10-7, the Rams get in.
I have some remarkable stats for you here as we close out this segment. Pete Carroll, as a head coach in Seattle, as a dog at home, 23-9 straight up, 22-10 ATS. Monday Night Football under Carroll, 14-4 straight up, 11-6-1 against the spread. The only time Pete Carroll has ever lost to the Eagles was 24 years ago today in one of his last games as the head coach of the Patriots. Since he arrived in Seattle in 2010, played the Eagles for the first time as a Seahawks coach in 2011, beat Andy Reid once, Chip Kelly once, Doug Peterson 5 times, and now Nick Sirianni 8-0 against the Eagles since joining Seattle.
Wow.
Crazy.
I wonder why the money was coming in on him. He just has the Eagles number.
Information I wish I would have known yesterday.
Yeah. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.